Duperas y duperas. Today on Dupe by the River, the Philadelphia Union have signed their first player of the offseason, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to talk about Andres Perea, the new addition to our Philadelphia Union. We're also going to recap what went down in the world. Ladies and gentlemen, don't you dare go anywhere because you do not want to miss this episode of Dupe by the River. And let's get started, guys.
Dupe by the River
doesn't do anything well. There is not one.
I'm sorry. There was no creativity.
As a Union fan, I take that all day.
Another DP. We need to go get Mario Balotelli. And that is right. Welcome, everybody, to Dupe by the River, the show where we follow everything Philadelphia Union. And, of course, we are brought to you by Philly Sports Network. Before we dive into today's episode of Dupe by the River, I want to welcome everybody in. We got YouTube, everyone checking on in from El Barcelona Phillies YouTube channel. Want to give a big shout out to Twitter Live as well. Make sure you guys hit the like button, subscribe on El Barcelona Phillies YouTube channel. We record live here every single week. Of course, we're also available wherever you stream podcasts from Apple, Google, and Spotify. Check us out under Dupe by the River podcast. All right, ladies and gentlemen, introducing today my co-hosts. Please welcome, as always, Justin Pham, Florida Allocation Money Friedberg. I like this one. Justin, what's going on, brother? How you feeling, man?
I'm hanging in there. Picked up a little bit of a cold over the weekend, and but hanging in there. Got some World Cup soccer. Over the weekend was part of, I'm sure people on social media have seen, the comeback victory for Sporting Serotonin and going to the promotion final this Saturday, 9 a.m. in Bristol, PA. If we are having a decent supporting contingent come out. So if anyone wants to come out, DM me for the address. Games at 9 a.m. And, I'm just enjoying, just enjoying everything that's going on. It's been busy time in soccer. A lot of stuff's been going down.
Justin's got this top secret soccer game with Sporting Serotonin. It feels like when Pablo Escobar had like Atlético Nacional playing at the Catedral, as they say. Look at you, Justin. I love it. But of course, as always, we support our brothers over at Sporting Serotonin. Great job by you guys. Tommy, what's happening, brother? It's good to see you here. Good day to you, my friend. Hope you're having a great day, man. Tommy always bringing the positivity here for us. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get we got our special guest coming on in just a little bit. Running a little bit late. We'll move forward here. We'll bring them on in here, but guys, I want to talk real quick about, we have to discuss the latest news here with our Philadelphia Union. Andres Perea, the news dropped here today, a little midday action. Funny, the day after the Phillies dropped the news that had everyone in Philadelphia going crazy with Trey Turner, the Union the next day are like, hey, well, we got ourselves Andres Perea. So the Union signed from Orlando City, Mr. Perea, a Colombian-American international. We'll talk about that in just a second. But so what gets sent over to Orlando? So Orlando will get $450,000 in general allocation money, the good old GAM, in 2023. $300,000 in 2024 GAM. Additionally, Orlando will receive $100,000 in GAM and a percentage of Pereira's transfer fee if certain conditions are met. That makes it very interesting as well. So I guess to me that kind of tells that the Union, or to me it tells that the Union definitely see this guy with a lot of potential. If they think that, or Orlando thinks there's potential with him, if they're going to add on a transfer clause there. So for Andres Perea, he obviously born here in America. He is a Colombian American. He did play 3 seasons over in Atlético Nacional. One of the biggest clubs over in Colombia, the Paisas, as they call them, was loaned on to Orlando in 2020, and he's been there since then. And the Philadelphia Union sent over some cash over there for the services of Andres Perea. So I guess, Justin, I want to ask here first, because, as a Philly sports fan that I am, I went in and watched the highlights, right? And he definitely fits what we are trying to do, but it does look like he's more of a CDM of a prototypical 6. I do see the potential as a box-to-box shuttler that we're hoping we're trying to get here. But for you, what do you see the role for Mr. Pereira?
So first, I was kind of surprised at the move. It definitely came out of nowhere. My good buddy Freddie, I posted in one of our chats, and he just goes, fuck you, Justin. That's not real money. And I'm like, yeah, everyone knows that. That's what Garber Bucks are for. It's just for teams making themselves feel better about transfer values. So I think it's a twofold thing. I think you're looking at this one, either Ernst sees this as a direct Brujo replacement, or a Bueno, if Bueno leaving. Like I think one of the two. I don't if this could be potentially you slot him in and he's the backup, or he's the starter, or if you're trying to mold him into, because a lot of the highlights are him crashing the box, finishing strong, which would be an alley type player. That is the kind of midfielder that I think Ernst is looking for, and I think Jim is looking for, because alley probably has one more year. And I think at this point you got to look at, is there anyone really on the roster that is a direct alley replacement? And right now, no. And I think Pereira is one of the guys that might be able to be a 6/8, because these days the modern CDM isn't really a true just stopgap and pass it out. There's a habit of looking at of crashing the box and being that support on the back end of the offensive attack. And I think if he, I would hope that at this point that he is the alley replacement. But I think at this point round, you got to look at it first as a direct competition to Brujo and Bueno, and then see if they start using him. And because I imagine there might not be when they're not in the diamond formation in 4-4-2. I think you're going to see a lot of play with the midfield. There's probably talks of a back three. I know they're talking about very big formational changes and flexibility. So you could see him, maybe behind, Gazdag, and maybe, McGlynn kind of pairing behind Gazdag, 3-5-2, or there's a lot of flexibility, and I think this shows that you're not going to have, unlike last year, you're not going to have the same starting lineup for every game. I think this is the start of more rotation, because you're going to have the number of games you're going to have this season is it could be at least 50 games. So, and that's on the low end if you're not advancing very far in most of these tournaments. So it's going to be a long season. You're going to need this type of depth, and he's a very young player, has a lot of upside. So this is one that gives you a lot of flexibility if you're Jim Curtin in the midfield.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Real quick, I do want to say hello to some of the guys in the chat. We got Luke Paisley. Any tips for someone trying to get into soccer, specifically the MLS? Watch soccer? Is that not good enough of advice there? Anything you want to give, Justin? Maybe someone trying to get in this league?
I would say, start listening to soccer podcast, MLS podcasts. Kind of get a feel for hey, yeah, you have us, you have, you have, if you want tactical analysis, I'd say Total Soccer Show. If you want comedy and vibes, you got our buddies, the Cooligans.
Hey, no.
I think there are different avenues to getting in. If you want an official, thing, you could go through MLS Extra Time. There are a lot of avenues to get, go through to support the soccer, I would say, depending if you're in this area, obviously go to a Union game. But if you're not, start supporting. There is, around here you have Atlantic City FC. They've played some games at Rowan and Egg Harbor. You have Philly Lone Star that plays games in the city. You have, if you want to take the train up to North Jersey, you have Gotham. There's multiple ways to get into soccer in this country. It doesn't have to be right at the top. You can start at lower levels and kind of work your way through. But yeah, trust me, there are plenty of avenues to just start, go on Twitter, find the team. If you're in this area, obviously just, find people on Union Twitter, and it's just really just get yourself immersed in and like I said, if you come to a game and you're at the, come to a Sons of Ben tailgate, that's just one of the best ways I tell people that it just, it really gets you immersed in the supporter culture and really, and I've seen people who have, never been to a game, and they've gone to a Sons of Ben tailgate, and they start going to more. Next thing you know, they get season tickets. So I just tell people, just go to a game. I think just go to a game and just experience the atmosphere, and then learn from there. I think I think you can build on there. You don't have to know much to go to a game.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. It's easy. It's your local. It's a great sport, and it's really not too much. And we hope that you can join us along the ride. So hopefully we're a part of it. What's up, Nate? Hope you're having a great day, man. Mike, we got a new player. We got a young Colombian international, 22 years old, Colombian American international, Andres Perea.
Which that's gonna make you happy. You got the Colombian connection back on this.
2 Colombian Americans on this team, bro. That's what I'm talking about.
Hey, listen, that's how we yeah, got a little Colombian flair, that's what we've been missing these days.
Dude, that'd be crazy if Andres Perea takes over for Ali, just tanning the guards, Colombian American to Colombian American for another 5-6 years. We'll see. The deal, our deal here with Perea, what is it? 3-year deal with an option for a 4th. Did I see that correctly? Let me pull that up here with
I actually didn't take a look at the contract.
Okay. So it's a 3-year deal with an option for 2026 for the Philadelphia Union. So
that does, I think that's a solid because he's what, 21?
22. So
22. Okay, so
really,
if you extend that 4th year, you're getting 26. You still got prime. You can still sell him off. Yeah, I think that's a reasonable. Gives you enough of a window if you're putting him on as someone you plan on flipping.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Well, I definitely just I want to get the opinion of someone. I definitely want to get the opinion of our guy here. Ladies and gentlemen, you know him from the Free Kick podcast. Please welcome our guy, Mr. Todd Lewis. Todd, what's going on, brother? How you feeling, man?
I'm good. What's up, Johnny? What's up, Justin? And it's like, man, every time that people try to host with StreamYard, I always have issues connecting. And it's like, I think the last time I did StreamYard, I think it was on your show. And it took me forever to figure it out. I figured it out. And then I tried to do it this time. And everything completely changed. And so then I had to go through Firefox, which nobody even uses that. I feel like to use the internet anymore. But look, again, that's all that matters, right?
I appreciate you coming in here, Todd. It's definitely great to have you in here, man. You're a great friend of the podcast. It's always a lot of fun. So, of course, listen, Todd, it's been a while, man. Wait, Todd, there's a little bit of a there. I think we're is it it's like a little echo.
Is it still an echo?
Yeah. Maybe are you in the right audio?
What about now?
There we go. Look at that. It sounds great. Yeah. We got it now. We got it. So listen, Todd, man. It's been a great grind for you, man. We love what's been going on over at Free Kick Podcast, man. The growth that you've been having, man. How's Free Kick Podcast been treating you, brother?
Yeah, everything's been going good. got done first season in the press box. So that was huge for the press, for the podcast and going in the locker room. And the one thing I will say I regret is once the Union won the Eastern Conference Championship, everybody else that was in the locker room were like taking videos and everything, taking pictures. That's the one thing I regret that I did not get to do, or I guess I did get to do it, but I was like, a little bit too timid and everything. I wish I would have done that, but there's always next season. So hopefully we get back to the Eastern Conference Championship and win it.
What's it like up there in the press box, man? A little different from the Rivers End?
I've talked to some people and they're like, man, it's going to get boring really, really fast, which, I was like, okay, let me try it out for one game. And I was like, nah, this is really, really addicting. And Justin knows when we went to Atlanta and everything, we set up high and everything, and you can see the whole field. And so myself, Justin and I were talking tactics and everything, seeing what we see. And I do like sitting up high because you can see the whole field and everything. You can see plays developing. And so I do like the sense of that and being able to sit that high up and see things before they're going to happen. Or, when I was sitting in the river end and the plays going down the other end of the field, you're like, is it a goal? Is it not a goal? And when you're that high up, you can see everything. So, it definitely has its perks and minuses and everything. I will say, though, I went down to DC United's press box, and Philadelphia Union's press box is 10 times better just because the Union serve fresh food, unlike microwavables that DC United were serving. So that's what I'll say about DC.
Todd's throwing shots here. Hey, Todd, they got it bad enough down there. But no, absolutely. So Todd, we're kind of in the talking about the new thing here on Perea. We're kind of just trying to figure out the role, what he could potentially be. Obviously listed as a central defensive midfielder. We all hope he can be the replacement for Ali Bedoya. For you, man, just your thoughts on the move, and where do you think he kind of fits with the squad?
Yeah, so I heard you guys talking about the contract right away. Yeah, I think it's great where you look an option through the 2026 season. I was looking at the MLSPA, and Pereira made $240,000 last season. So, it's not getting paid a ton of money. And I think, that's a great piece of business that the Union made, where they get a guy who signed through 2026 if they want to take up that option. He's not getting paid a lot of money. I think him and Jose Martinez are around the same price range. And here's a guy, right, who got beat out for their starting number 6 job. Orlando City run 2 pivots, 2 number 6s in Orlando City. It was either Junior Urso, it was Mendez before he got traded to LAFC, Cesar Araujo, and then you have Pereira. And unfortunately for him, he lost out on the starting spot. Junior Urso and Araujo were the 2 starters that Orlando City went with. And so I guess it's kind of the same with Julian Carranza. Maybe a new scene, a new scenery, a new team where, okay, obviously the Union sees something in him, because I'm sure you guys saw the quotes from Ernst Tanner where he said, we like his versatility. He can play as a 6. He can play as one of the 8s. And I know seeing some Union fans saying, well, he's more of a defensive player than an offensive player. And look, we say the same thing about Leon Flock, right? But we see what he does shutting down defensively on the left side of the diamond. And I know some Union fans are going to say, well, if you have the same thing on the right side of the diamond, where's the offense going to come from? You can't just rely on Gazag and Carranza and Ua. And if Kai Wagner leaves, then you definitely lose the offense you have on the left side of the field. So I do like the move. I think that a change of scenery is going to do him well. He's 22 years old, right? Johnny, you're a Columbia fan. The U.S. took him from Columbia.
Yeah,
they said, look, we believe in you. He was playing with U17s and 20s, I believe it was, playing down there with the best Colombian team in the league, 17 titles, I believe, national.
Oh, whoa. Todd. I'm not going to take that slander. America de Cali. No, I'm just kidding, man. But yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. That's your forte, you know Colombian soccer. So
we'll have a discussion one day on a pod, Todd.
Hey, that's all you. So I'll ask you a couple questions, and you can go ahead and talk about Colombian soccer. But when I was researching it, 17 titles. So they're a successful club down there in Colombia. And so I just think, like we saw with Julian Carranza, change your scenery should do him well. And if we lose a Leon Flock or Jose Martinez, at least you have a replacement. And here's the thing, right? So many Union fans were upset that Ernst Tanner doesn't go in the league and sign players. Back-to-back years now, he's made trades for MLS players, and I think that's huge. You look at teams that go far in the playoffs. What do they have? They have MLS experience. And so to see Ernst Tanner go out there and spend some of that GAM, because let's not forget, the Union had a ton of money, and they still do have a lot of money. So this isn't going to be the only move the Union make this winter. And so to see them go out there and get a guy who has MLS experience, scored 2 goals against the Union last season. So happy to have him on the team next season going forward.
Absolutely. Ernst will talk about that as well, watching him in the past and scouting him before. And I think the key part of this as well, and you brought up Julian Carranza. It's really, I mean, I think that's how you can compare this. I mean, this is a lot like Julian Carranza because of what happened down in Orlando, but there's still development with him. And I think that's what they kind of see. When I watch a little bit of him play, I do see someone that can fit what we're kind of looking for as a shuttler, right? So like when you're talking about like connecting the back line to the front line, and that's what Ali does so great, dropping back deep and bringing up the ball and creating the attack from back there. And when I saw Perea, he's very quick. He makes quick decisions. That's also very important as well. You know how fast we like to move. So I think that is probably the goal, is trying to develop him into playing that. And I definitely could see that happening. It does raise an interesting question because, you still have Jack McGlynn, who saw a lot of minutes when Ali was out. Leon Flock had he looked much better last year than he did the year before. So that's very good, seeing that development from him from year 1 to year 2. And of course, you have Brujo Martinez. So I guess the next question would be, gentlemen, do you see this midfield staying intact, or could you see someone parting? Justin, I'll throw this one to you, my man, to start off.
I think, as I said before, and based on quotes from Ernst, based on article from John Tannenwald, I think there's going to be a shakeup in this midfield. You're not going to have the same starting midfield every game. I think you're going to see a lot more competition for spots, a lot more players brought in that aren't just depth, that are actively pushing for spots. And that includes El Brujo. Listen, in that MLS Cup final, and I said this right after MLS Cup, and I was saying El Brujo was at fault for at some point in all 3 goals. And if you're Jim Curtin and Ernst Tanner, you got to go, okay, wait a minute. This is another big game where we have had our defensive midfielder at fault for easily fixable. I mean, no need to do that tackle in right in the center. You don't need to do silly passes. And I think looking at the competition in the midfield, I mean, Jesus Bueno isn't getting a ton of time, and I know he's been playing a lot for you too. But this has got to be the year But this has got to be the year where he's got to push through. As I've said, there has been no direct replacement for Ali in this midfield, and I think Perea might be the best shot at that. I know he's a more of a 6 than an 8, but we've seen those highlights of him crashing the box and finishing. He's got that ability, and they need a midfielder like that because, as I said, you can't rely on Costa, Ua, and Carranza to put on all the offense, and there will be tactical flexibility. But I think what that's going to do is that's going to force the players that are going to get minutes will get minutes. And even with all the rotation, you don't want to be one of the players on the outside. And right now, this signing indicates there are going to be massive changes in this midfield. So I think, there will be some big shakeups in this midfield for next season.
Todd, do you see anyone leaving in this midfield?
Leaving, I would say the only one that could potentially be a possibility is Jose Martinez. I know there was talk about Jack McGlynn potentially leaving. I'm sure you guys remember the rumors linking him to PSV in the Netherlands. Everything's been quiet.
Jose Martinez on that. That's any deals per a source, aka someone very close. 2024, I think. I think one more season is everything I've heard is is, and I think another season will do him good. But
That is
those rumors
wild.
will absolutely ramp up this season.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll see, right? I mean, the Union. I mean, if they get blown away with an offer, they're going to accept it, right? I mean, Jim Curtin's said it plenty of times in the past in press conferences where, they're not going to stop players from wanting to go to Europe. He says it all the time about Kai Wagner. Kai Wagner wants to go to Europe, and the Union won't get in his way. Jim Curtin wants players that want to play in Europe because, let's face it, we all know Europe's higher than MLS, well, at least some leagues. And I think we're a couple years away from some of our best talent saying, you know what, I'm going to stay in MLS, because MLS is a very respectable league, and I think it is. But comparing it to Europe, I mean, the top 5 leagues in Europe, we all know are better than MLS. But in a couple of years, who's to say MLS isn't better than Ligue 1 or up there with Serie A? We don't know. The quality of soccer is getting better. So I don't know if anybody's going to leave the season. If it's going to be a player, I think it's going to be Jose Martinez. And maybe not so much because of performances. Maybe he just wants to get out because he's not happy with what's going on in the locker room. Maybe he's not happy with what happened after the MLS Cup final. Like you guys said, he had 3 errors that led to all 3 goals that LAFC scored. Had a penalty save. So maybe Jose Martinez doesn't want to stay in Philadelphia. Who knows? But no, I think we've heard Jim Curtin say, Jim and Ernst Tenner say at the end of the season press conference that why should we just play the dime? Teams adapt to that. So why not play a 3-5-2? Why not change your formation up? And if you're going to play different formations, you need more midfielders. And on top of that, win 4 competitions next season, and that's over 50 games. And so you have to have depth. And so I think, primarily we'll probably play the diamond. But I wouldn't be shocked if we see some games we come out in a 3-5-2 where we have to play with those 2 double pivots, and whether that's Jose Martinez or Perea, or whether that's Jose Martinez and Udada, which I don't know if you guys have talked about that yet. But I do think we will see all these guys get a chance as things stand. I mean, I guess things are pretty quiet right on the Union front where nobody's being linked away with a move. Even Kai Wagner news has been pretty silent the last couple of weeks. I think right after MLS Cup, we heard a rumor that Nice and Ligue 1 were interested in Kai Wagner, and now everything's went quiet again. So I guess we'll see. I don't think anybody in the midfield is going to leave, but if they do, remember, Ernst Tenner said if we sell anybody in winter, we will replace them. So Ernst Tenner wanted 3 or 4 new signings, and that wasn't including if they sell players. So if they do sell players, we'll see them replace, according to Ernst Tenner.
Remember, Todd, that we still got to give Kai's agent time to drum up some of these rumors and generate more teams interested in him, because every time those rumors come up, it's it's all these teams are interested, and then the team will say, well, we've received no formal offer.
Yeah, that's true.
It'll go, Kai's agent's been busy.
For sure.
So to Divinely Conte's question, is Perea more of an attacker or defender? I would say to be determined, I would say. Yeah,
like right now, he's absolutely a pure CDM.
Right.
Who seems, especially in Orlando's system, they allowed, you saw Junior Urso, the amount of times that, Arujo would stay back and Junior Urso would crash the box. I think they allow the freedom. So it's a 6-8 hybrid role. I would say that's the reason why he could be either a Brujo type replacement or an Ali replacement. So right now I lean defensive, but unlike Leon Flock, where his offensive game is still very unpolished, Perea at least seems to have his shooting boots fastened a little more tightly.
You can also hit the long pass I don't know if you guys saw that one.
Yeah. I was about to bring that up. He completed 76% of his long passes. I know he only had 25 attempts this season, but we see it all the time. One, it's our center backs, or if it's Jose Martinez, it's required for those guys to hit the long ball. And so to see him hit 76% of his long balls, I think that was an easy decision for the Union to say, yeah, let's go out and sign this guy. And you guys were talking about Leon Flock Yeah, he's unpolished offensively. The one thing that I like about Andres too is he completed 82.3% of his passes this season, and that would rank in the top 3, I believe, on the Union, because we all know the Union, have a lot of bad turnovers. You guys were talking about Jose Martinez turnovers and the LAFC game. And so, if he brings that passing ability that he had this season with Orlando to the Union, man, that's going to be huge for this team going forward.
Absolutely, man. I completely agree with you with that one. One thing I wanted to bring up with Andres Perea. So real quick, I want to talk about the international stuff. So Justin was talking about it off air a little bit. So he was with the under 17s, under 19s with Colombia, and then he did the one-time switch, and now he is with the U.S. So I guess what is the future, I guess, with the U.S. men's national team, if we know of anything?
So I think after looking at the what happened in the midfield for this World Cup, the MMA midfield is essentially your starting midfield. I mean, in most situations, that's a solid midfield. I think Pereira right now would fit in. So it's gonna be tough because you had Luca Del Torre as kind of that real Tyler Adams type replacement, but that spot is definitely still open unless someone else comes through. Greg was going through a lot of midfielders to get those backups, and outside of that main trio, outside of maybe Kellen Acosta, there wasn't a ton of rotation, and I'm not sure if a guy like Kellen Acosta will be around for the next World Cup. I mean, a lot of the core of the U.S. midfield will be in their prime, and they'll obviously be there. So I think someone like Perea might be better served in this kind of a situation, because as we saw with Leon, you have a solid season, you start working your way into the contention, and maybe he has a good solid part of the season and he gets in contention for Gold Cup, and then he starts getting like there is a possible. We've seen it with MLS players doing well enough, and so I think he's absolutely got a solid shot, because anything past that midfield trio, there is plenty of spots open.
Come on, let's be honest. Leon Flock's the ideal replacement for Tyler Adams. And with this January camp, Leon Flock better get called into the camp, along with Brandon Vasquez. It is criminal that Brandon Vasquez was not with the national team at the World Cup, especially if we were going to have the most crosses in the World Cup.
We'll definitely
how aren't you going to have a
talk
target
about
for it like that?
I mean, come on, you want Leon in Camp Cupcake in January?
Oh my God!
Yeah,
it might not be that. It might not be that. We'll see.
I think Jim Curtin would want that, because, we're going to have preseason start up in January. So at least Leon Flock's getting meaningful minutes in a camp and everything, which you would hope that, okay, that means that he's going to come into Union camp in shape. So I wouldn't mind it just to get Leon Flock in shape. Not saying that he's not in shape right now, but like to keep him fresh and everything. And that way he's already 100% come preseason time for the Union.
All right. So I wanted to ask you guys real quick. So if Ernst Tanner's press conference Christmas wish list for this team is true, we can cross off the midfielder, because that was something he talked about in the press conference. Yep. So now that leaves us with center back and attacker. So where do you guys think Ernst is going to next? What position? Where's he going? I mean, if you guys have a name you want to throw out there, definitely throw it out. Todd, you want to start off here?
Oh man, if we're throwing out a name, like let's face it, none of us are going to know any of these players that Ernst Tanner
That's what I like.
So,
I never tried.
Whoever this guy is that Ernst Tanner brings in next, I'm gonna assume that this guy is going to be a stud. And you're right. He said attacker. And that can mean a lot of things. It can mean striker. Right. It can mean attacking midfield, which Ernst Tanner did say Quinn Sullivan, why can't he be the backup to Daniel Gazdag at the 10? So I don't know. Maybe they don't go for a 10. Maybe they really do see Quinn Sullivan as a 10, and maybe it solidifies Quinn playing as a 10 with them bringing in Andres Perea to play on the right side of the field to be Ale Bedoya's backup. maybe they play with a winger. I mean, I know we got rid of all the wingers we had, and let's not forget, Quinn Sullivan was a winger in the academy, and then we had to force him to play as an 8 where he didn't look comfortable because it's not his more natural position. And so maybe we do play with some wingers, and maybe Ernst Tanner goes out and signs a winger. I mean, who knows? I think one thing that this team definitely needs is a player that's not afraid to take on opponents 1v1. We haven't had that, I feel like, since El Senior. Yeah, Daniel Gaza can do that. We saw it with Jamiro Montero, and yeah, I was happy with us getting rid of Jamiro Montero, but we did lose a lot in that 1v1 ability that he brought to the team. Defensively, we were not losing much with Leon Flock, but offensively and taking players on 1v1, yeah, I do think that was a big miss. And so maybe Ernst Tanner brings in a player that's good in 1v1s. I mean, I don't care who he brings in, what he brings in, whether it be a center back or an attacker first. If it's a winger, look, I'm all for it. You guys remember that one Slovakian, I believe it was, Jan Vodenhandel, something. I don't know. We were linked with him for the last 2 seasons. He was a winger. I was like 21, 22 years old. And I was like, okay, maybe we're going to be linked with this guy again. And then I looked and I was like, oh, he just signed with a new team. So I doubt we'll be linked with him. So yeah, I don't care if it's a center back or a winger, an attacking midfielder or striker. I mean, I think, okay, with Corey Burke gone, okay, maybe they do go out and sign another striker, but I feel like that would be such a hard conversation for Ernst Tanner to have with Jay Sugarman after they brought in Mikael Uber, Julian Kranza, and then let's not forget Jose Riasco last season, which they paid over $1 million for Jose Riasco to spend the whole season with Union 2. And you're not going to pay that kind of money for a guy to sit in Union 2 again for a second season. Maybe to start the season he will, but I think he's the ideal replacement for Corey Burke. Maybe they bring in a MLS striker just temporarily until Jose Riasco is able to play meaningful minutes with the first team. But what Ernst Tanner is going to sign first, I have no clue.
All right, Justin, sounds like Todd wants to go to the school of Union Hulk and go to Brazil for a little 1v1 attacker there. What do you got, Justin?
So first off, I will not miss Jamiro taking someone 1-on-3 and losing the ball and starting the offense. So that part I don't miss. Listen, between center back and an attacking player, I think I'm leaning towards the attacker, and I think you will go with an MLS vet. There are some good names in the free agency pool. The name that sticks out to me very much, and someone who was semi-linked with the Union, was kind of up in the air with his status last season. Not too far removed for being tied for the Golden Boot lead, and that is Ola Kamara.
That's your boy.
In 2021, the only reason he lost the Golden Boot was on assists. And he is a player that would fit this system. He's got speed. He can get in behind. He can absolutely press. I think it would allow Quinn Sullivan, if he's playing this 10, to give Daniel Gazdag rotational minutes. I think Jose Riasco, I know he had some visa issues and then there was an injury, and so it was a little slower kind of, getting himself acclimated. So I think at least the first half of the season, they're going to kind of wait to ease him in, because you also do have between him, Quinn Sullivan, and the youngster Marcos Zambrano, you're going to have a lot of young players potentially coming through. And if you could have someone a year or two stopgap to kind of help these players along, and someone who can still contribute in the super sub minutes, I think Ola Kamara would absolutely fit that, because he fits the system so well. And it wouldn't be that big of a drop off. Remember, you had Corey Burke, you almost had 4 double-digit goal scorers this season. And the fact that you had 3 was even impressive. And I think with Ola Kamara, that could push potentially into 4 double-digit goal scorers. So if I'm Ernst Tanner, I think I would probably look maybe internationally for the center back. But for the attacker, you got some solid options, especially with the MLS introducing free agency and more players being able to go into free agency, and the requirements aren't as difficult. The amount of attackers that are in free agency is actually a pretty solid amount. Besides Ola Kamara, you have Tasho Akindele, you have Will Bruin. So there are a number of MLS vets who have been around and know this league well enough. But I think in terms of people fitting the system, Ola Kamara fits the bill 100%.
Okay, all right.
Didn't Akindele? I think he signed with Charlotte, didn't he? Or
I know it was a rumor. I wasn't sure it was official.
But I have a name for you though. What about Ronaldo Cisneros, who was on loan last season with Atlanta United? 7 goals. I mean, he was making less than Corey Burke.
That is he? Did he go back to?
He did. Yeah, his loan's over. Yeah,
that'd be interesting. He was dangerous. That was the guy I kept looking out for when we played Atlanta.
Me too.
So,
I really thought I was about to say Cristiano Ronaldo. I was like, wait, Todd, really?
No, if that happens, if the Union
if that happens, I don't know what I would do. It would be another problematic fan.
I mean, I'm not even gonna lie. I think I'd probably just sell my tickets every single game because we all know that fans are gonna go there just to see Ronaldo. So imagine all the money you can make. I mean, I know Union fans probably aren't gonna want to hear that, but like, I don't know, like that would be really hard to support the Union if they brought in Ronaldo. I mean, that's the last player you want in the locker room. Let's look at the last couple players that had locker room issues with the Union, and they're no longer here. So why would you bring in somebody who just got benched with Portugal because of locker room problems, having an attitude because he got substituted out? We saw it with Manchester United. So I mean, yeah, I would not be happy if that was the guy the Union brought in.
Yeah, no, there is no play as a Man U fan. There is no player I would rather want farther away from the Union than that locker room cancer Cristiano Ronaldo, who right now does not have a club.
It's like you guys are. It's like you guys are talking with logic. It's crazy. It's really.
It is crazy, right?
Soccer fan in logic that doesn't work.
Well, guys, I do want to talk about. First off, beautiful kit that our boy Todd's got on, man.
Yeah, especially because
that's nice. I like that. I really do like that. So the U.S. Men's National Team. I'll be honest. I didn't think I'd wake up for it. I did wake up in time for the game. Went to the living room, watched the game. It sucked. It honestly sucked. I really was pulling hard for the U.S. and it was a tough blow. And it's funny because I messaged you by the river chat and I was just like, yo guys, I was really pulling for the US. I'm sorry. And then of course Justin, man, that's why I freaking love Justin. Justin's like, I'm nothing but proud of this team. And I'm like, you know what? Absolutely. Why should you be upset? Like you guys didn't make the World Cup in 2018. The future is brighter than ever. I'm jealous of it. And so yeah, you definitely should be proud. Todd, I mean, I definitely want to get your thoughts, man. Like your thoughts on the match, your thoughts after, your thoughts on the future, man. 2026 can be huge for all of us.
Well, as the newly appointed U.S. national team fan, since I don't know if your listeners know, but I got into soccer because of England and the national team, the 2006 World Cup between them and Portugal. So they're who got me into soccer because the commentators kept talking about England. They kept talking about the players that play for Manchester United. And so that's how I chose those two teams. And then I was like, man, all these English people are bashing on U.S. soccer. How can I put up with that? It's like, man, let me support the U.S. and let me support our guy, Brendan Aronson. It's like, how can I root against that? And so, yeah, I'll talk about the game, the future. Justin, I'm sure probably knows so much more about how deep the U.S. is with players and everything. So I'll only talk about what I watch. And I think Justin's right. I mean, we should be proud as Americans to essentially have a knockout game against Iran and to win that game, where it looked like those last 9 minutes, last 15 minutes, the U.S. were potentially going to give up an equalizer. I mean,
took 10 years off my life.
Walker Zimmerman almost scoring an own goal. Matt Turner comes up with a save. I mean, it's man, that was nerve-wracking just watching those last 15 minutes. And then to see us go toe-to-toe, I mean, to have a chance to take the lead in the second minute against the Netherlands. You're not going to get many chances. Pulisic has to put that away. And the one thing I will say, I think a lot of fans were proud of Pulisic for finally getting his goal, his first World Cup, gets a goal, had 2 or 3 assists, I believe it was. But in my opinion, a lot of his shots, especially against the Netherlands, I thought they were weak. A lot of their shots were just slow rollers on the ground that didn't really trouble the goalkeeper at all. You look, the first goal the Union gave up, but that's just bad transition defense where we're not used to seeing that with the Union. I mean, the Union are so defensively sound, and anytime a team tries to counterattack, everybody's in the right position. And to see Tyler Adams, who had a fantastic World Cup, just get beat there, bad transition defense, and then have Serginho Dest and then Anton Robinson ball watch. I mean, we've seen that in the past, right, with the Union, and to see it happen with the US, the biggest stage, the biggest game of these players' careers, that's a hard pill to swallow, especially when you look. I mean, the US, we're giving it to Netherlands in that game. So Junior Des played fantastic. The midfield three, like Justin was talking about with Musa, McKinney, and Adams, I mean, they were fantastic. And I see all the fans that say, oh, get Giorena in here, get Brendan Aronson in here. But how can you replace any of the three in the midfield when they were fantastic? And a couple of my friends in England were like, when we played England, they were like, yeah, this is a real team. And especially with how young the US is, the future is bright for this team. And to see them boss the midfield against England like they did, a lot of people, I think, were caught by surprise just how well Americans played this World Cup. But yeah, I mean, the game against the Netherlands, you're not going to get a lot of chances. They didn't get a lot of chances. And just 3 easy mistakes that you can correct. And it sucks that the Union gave up those type of goals. Again, I talked about it earlier, how you don't bring Brandon Vasquez into this World Cup, or how you don't bring Pifok into this World Cup when you're going to send in the most crosses out of any team, when both of those guys, Vasquez and Pifok, target forwards. It makes no sense. It's like Josh Sargent, I love him and everything, but he's not a target forward. He's not going to be up there getting crosses, getting headers. Haji, right? He's not built like that. Jesus Ferreira is more of a 10. He comes back the most out of the other 2 strikers on the list. So I don't know. The whole Brandon Vasquez thing like pisses me off just because we saw how well he was in MLS, and I was talking about it since August when I had Tom Gallardo, the commentator from Cincinnati, on my podcast. We're like, how wasn't Brandon Vasquez called up for any of these camps, and then eventually not called up to the national team? I mean, man, I mean, yeah, we can be mad at Greg Berhalter's choices. I guess the better question is, will Greg Berhalter get his contract re-upped? I think he should, and maybe that's controversial, but my answer to that is, who do you have waiting in the wings? If it's not Greg Berhalter, it's like, okay, just continue to ride this. I mean, yeah, tactically, substitutions could have been better when he made them, but I just don't think we have anybody waiting in the wings to replace Greg Berhalter right now. So it's like, okay, well, you want to go with an interim coach for however many months? I know people say Jesse Marsh or Jim Curtin. Jim Curtin's not going to leave the Union to go to the national team yet. Jesse Marsh would not give up Leeds United to go to the national team. Now, if Jesse Marsh gets sacked here in the next couple months, and maybe the U.S. Federation has a sense of that, then maybe they don't re-up Greg Berhalter and go with an interim coach until Jesse Marsh gets sacked. But yeah, I don't think the U.S. have any coaches waiting in their wings. So, yeah, like Justin said, just be proud of how the U.S. played this World Cup. Went toe-to-toe with England. We're the better team against England, in my opinion. So, yeah, the future looks bright with the U.S.
Justin, your thoughts on the U.S. and the future of the U.S.?
Yeah, so like I said, the MMA midfield was amazing. It absolutely bossed England, and who knows? We finished some of those chances against Wales and against England. We might be playing Senegal, and I think in that case we potentially have easier game between the two. in terms of the attacking options, I did not think Jesus Ferreira should be there. I mean, I understood from his club form, maybe. I mean, Haji Wright is the second leading goal scorer in the Turkish league. He did have that connection with McKinney and with Pulisic. I liked his hold up play. I think against someone like Van Dijk, you shouldn't have been crossing the balls in. I think Lowe would have been good, and that's why Josh Sargent was the starter. I think Brandon Vasquez definitely suffered from the too little, too late. I think there were moments where he had a number of injury problems in the summer. I think if anyone suffered this from Berhalter, it was Jordan Pefok, because I mean he arguably was the most consistent striker, and besides Haji Wright, and Greg Berhalter decides to bring in Ricardo Pepi for one last shot, and Ricardo Pepi has scored less than 5 goals in a calendar year, and yet they were still giving him all the chances. I think this roster is absolutely built and stacked for 2026. These players, we have the second youngest roster in the World Cup, which is insane. And we went toe to toe with 2 of the top 10 countries in the FIFA rankings. I think this team is stacked. I do not think Greg Berhalter will be the coach come 2026. I just think that he's brought them to this point. I don't think he's the coach that's going to bring them over the line. And, I think he's done his part. I also don't necessarily think coaches should be on national teams for more than one cycle. We saw that with Jurgen Klinsmann, how that can kind of go very sour. And we've seen that with the German national team with Jurgen Löw. Eventually his time ran out. And I think hopefully, I think you need a refresh every so often. I've been saying this for a while now, and it seems to be a controversial opinion, but I'm going to say it anyway. I think that the 2026 coach will be Landon Donovan. I mean, we talk about someone who knows the team inside and out. He has a connection with young players. We've seen it with San Diego. It wouldn't surprise me for a World Cup you're hosting. Who knows?
Landon Donovan as the manager of the U.S. That'd be pretty incredible, man. That'd be pretty wild. One thing we do know is that the next World Cup's gonna be epic. It's in our backyard, right? It's literally in our backyard, and that's gonna be freaking awesome. Todd, have you started saving? You got that piggy bank going?
For sure.
Dude, it's every expense of these tickets, man. But I'm freaking excited for it, man. Todd, man, what can we expect from the Free Kick podcast here in the 2023 season? Is this gonna be your 4th season?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, you were my first guest, right? How many people
Yes.
remember that? So when did I have you on? The end of 2019. So
I think so.
21, 22. Yeah, 4th season. Yeah. So it's going to be crazy. So you guys can come and check me at the beginning of the season. I'll be in Philadelphia at the convention center with the United States Soccer Coaches Convention. Come on out, buy tickets if you guys haven't already. The conference is from January 11th through January 15th. It doesn't matter if you guys are a coach or if you are coaches, come out. I mean, that is what the convention is primarily focused on, is coaching. But I'm excited to go just to learn about different formations, how to counter stuff, just to see the latest trends in soccer. Phil Wedding, I know Philadelphia Union's going to be there. A couple other people from the Union. The Academy setup's going to be there. JP Della Camera is going to be there. Seth Messing's going to be there from the New York Red Bulls. A whole bunch of people. You guys can go to UnitedSoccerCoachesConvention.org to see the latest presenters list. And yeah, I'm looking forward to just covering that event, having my podcast there, interviewing just some of these presenters, hopefully seeing some Union fans out there, and getting to just continue to put a name to the face with people that interact with me on Twitter or people that listen to the podcast that I don't know that listen to the podcast. If you guys are going there, would love to see them. So I should have 2 more episodes, maybe 1 more episode come out before the end of the season. And then January 11th through 15th, you guys can see me being active pretty much every day in Philadelphia doing a podcast and a whole bunch of different topics and everything, talking about the Union, probably talking about the national team, talk about soccer in Philadelphia, right? Because that's one thing I think we saw this season. Like, soccer is real and alive in Philadelphia, right? You guys saw it throughout the playoffs where every single game was a sellout. And we saw the city finally embrace the Union and become 5 for 5.
Yes.
And yeah, I think we still have a way to go. But look, the other sports teams were actually talking about the Union. I saw signage around Center City that had the Union included. And so I think we are making progress. And so, yeah, I just love just how Philadelphia loves soccer, how they embrace it, especially come playoff time this season. But yeah, I'm just ready for this Union season to get started. And yeah, I wish the season can start now, right? I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I have yet to watch that final. I probably will never watch it just because we can never change the outcome. Maybe if I watch it, stop it at the 123rd minute or whenever we score that goal. But yeah, I don't know. I can't watch that goal and that game. And I want the season to start now, and I want to say redemption.
I completely agree with you, man. I'm ready for the season as well. But Todd, listen, man, thank you so much for coming on, man. It was a lot of fun having you here, man. It's always a blast. You know what, Todd? It's really cool seeing how far you come, man. It really is, man.
Yeah, likewise, you too. And I was thinking about this. Like, you guys have a really, really good team with Zach and Tim. Let's not forget they're not here. Like, you guys do such a good job with Justin having match previews. You have Tim writing articles every other day, it seems like. Zach, has a lot of hot takes, but, you got to have those hot takes. And, Johnny keeping everybody together. So, I mean, you guys have grown so much, too, with PSN. And you guys all, like, bring different things to the table, and you all work well together. And so just see you guys continue to grow. And just always, like, I'm always appreciative of you guys bringing other Union podcasters together, because I think a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, year and a half, I don't know, time flies, right? With COVID, we did that Union Cypher with all the Union podcast hosts and everything. So that was great fun to be a part of. And I don't know, maybe we get something like that started again.
In person.
Yeah, that would be awesome, right? Finally do it in person, not over Zoom or StreamYard. But yeah, I mean, just to see the growth you guys do and everything, how well you guys work together. And like you, Johnny, like I know your listeners know, right? And to cover every other sport in Philadelphia, like, I don't know how you do it. Like, I always come up with these crazy ideas, what I want to do with a podcast. I'm like, man, I'm only one person. It's like, but here you are. All right, Union, 76ers, Phillies, Eagles. It's like, never stop.
Can't stop, man. Gotta work. Just like I'm like Leon Flock out there, man. I'll run all day. I'll run all day.
Sure.
Man. I do appreciate that. I gotta give. Todd, we have a lot of brilliant minds in the soccer world that cover the Union, but I'm really blessed to be around Justin, Zach, and Tim, because they really have some great minds, and I can be around it all the time. So I really am grateful, and we are grateful for having some great minds within our community. That's only growing. This is nothing, man. Wait till this gets bigger, man.
I know.
It's gonna be fun, man. It is gonna be
just
fun.
Next time you have me on, you have to have Zach and Tim here. I feel like every time I've been on the show, they're never here.
Yes, man. We'll definitely work on getting everyone in here. But that's going to do it for this episode of Dupe by the River. A big shout out to Todd Lewis for hopping on in here. Thank you so much for listening, guys. Make sure you guys hit the like button, subscribe for more. We're available wherever you stream podcasts. Find us under Dupe by the River podcast. And please go find the Free Kick podcast as well. You can find it under the same avenues as well. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Todd Lewis from the Free Kick podcast. That is Justin Florida Allocation Money Friedberg. I go by the name of Eddie Parcero Philly, and we're telling you guys to Dupe on. You guys enjoy the rest.